As many of you probably know, I don't usually talk about the economic side of things during videos. I usually do this during streams, but I decided, you know what, let's change up a little bit. We gotta talk about the economy because this is by far the #1 issue for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a Democrat, this is by far the biggest issue because a lot of people are panicking that we're about to have a second Great Recession. Hell, some people are claiming we're gonna have a Great Depression 2.0. Which, if you look at the stock market and some indicators, it's really not that crazy to say that because, well, look at this headline. The Dow and the S&P 500 continue to decline as U.S. markets endure another chaotic day.
For decades, the United States slashed our trade barriers on other countries, while those nations placed massive tariffs on our products and created outrageous non-monetary barriers.
And it's been a very bad week on the stock market, and that's why people are panicking and worried about the state of the economy because, oh my goodness, the stock market's going way down. It's the beginning of an economic crash. Now, I want to be clear and say that I don't know how this is going to turn out. I really don't know. This could go very good or very poorly. It's a boom or bust thing Trump is trying to do. So I don't know for sure how this is going to go. So let's be clear about that. I'm not saying I know everything. I'm not an expert. But I do believe what Trump, Howard Lutnick, and Besant, what they're trying to do is the correct decision. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, wait, what? The stock market's going way down. I mean, look at this. Look, the S&P 500 right now, yikes. It is bad. Right now, it's down by 5% for the day. And for the past month or so, yeah, it's gone way down. Things are looking pretty bad in the stock market. So it sounds crazy to say that this might be the right move. Again, it just sounds weird. Like, we went down by like 20%. How is that a good decision? Well, it's because what Trump, Lutnick, and Besant, what they're trying to do is not orthodox. It is very bizarre what they're trying to accomplish because most of the time, any other administration would look at the stock market and panic and say, oh God, we got to stop everything we're doing, reverse course. No, that's not what his administration is doing. And in fact, they're doubling down. Now, of course, the big reason that we're having the stock market crash is the tariffs. This is what is making everyone lose their minds because, well, these tariffs are not just 5%, not even 10%. No, look at some of these rates. China, 34%, the EU, 20%, Vietnam, 46%, Taiwan, 32%. We're not talking about some tiny rates that make no difference. No, these rates are insane. And I thought it was be like 10% here, 15% there. That's what I thought. No, Trump is saying, no, you mess with America, you're going to have a 46% tariff on all of your goods. Which, if I'm being honest with everybody, I didn't think Trump would go this far with tariffs. Like, I supported tariffs for years, and Trump, for his entire campaign, he was clear that, yeah, we're going to have high tariffs on countries like China, the EU, Vietnam. That's what he said. So don't let the people on Twitter fool you and say, oh, you fell for it. No, we voted for high tariffs. We voted to tariff China, South Korea. These countries have been screwing us over for years. Now, I will admit that I don't think anyone was prepared for a 34% tariff on China, which there's an additional 20% on China. So really, it's like 54%. Yeah, so these tariffs are way higher than anyone thought. And again, I support tariffs. I want to be clear about this. I support tariffs, and most people do. But most of us were not ready for these kind of tariffs. We thought it was going to be, again, like 10 to 20%, maybe 25% on, like, I don't know, China. But nope, it is clear Trump is not messing around. He is saying, if you treat us unfairly, we're going to put a 45% tariff on your country, and you're going to suffer. And this is why the stock market and the economy as a whole is not reacting well to this. But I would argue that what Trump, Besant, and Lutnick are trying to do, it's not only the smart thing to do, but I'm starting to wonder, do they want the economy to purposely slow down? And I know that sounds crazy, like, wait, what? Why would you want the economy to slow down? Why would you purposely tank the economy in the next couple of years? That's going to hurt you politically. Well, a little while ago, Trump posted this video on Truth Social, and he basically said, yeah, we're purposely crashing the stock market. It's not what Trump said, but it's the video he posted on Truth Social, and it explains what he's doing. He's trying to, again, he's not trying to crash the stock market by 80% or whatever, but it's clear that this administration, they're not just looking at the stock market and panicking. That's not their goal. Their goal is something way bigger than most people are really thinking about. It's about a real economy, a real long-term growth. That's what the Trump administration is focused on. They're not worried about a 5% growth over a day. That's not what they're worried about. They're more worried about, hey, can we have sustainable long-term growth over the next couple of years? That's what this administration is really focused on. And honestly, the more I look into it, I think it's the right decision. I really believe what this administration is trying to do is the correct move. Now, let's be clear. These tariffs will absolutely hurt. I'm not saying that no prices will go up at all. I still question how much prices will go up because people make it sound like, oh, the price for an iPhone is going to go up 80%. I doubt it. Is it possible? Maybe. But I think they're exaggerating how bad prices could get. But at the same time, let's be honest here. The economy that we got right now, it's not sustainable. Guys, everyone with a brain will tell you the last 5 to 6 years with the economy, especially under Biden, was horseshit. It was fake. It wasn't real. It was no growth. Yeah, they try to say, oh, GDP went up by 80% or whatever. But in reality, everyone will tell you the economy sucks. This economy is so bad that we need drastic change. And not just short-term change that the next president could just immediately revoke. No, we need change that could last forever. And what I think this administration is trying to do is they're trying to slow down the economy on purpose, which I know that sounds crazy, but then build a stronger economy in the long run. They're not thinking about 1 quarter. They're thinking about 10, 15 years down the line. That's what they're worried about. It's like China. China doesn't think in quarters. No, they think about what's going to happen in 2050. That's their end goal. What happens in 2050, 2060? Yes, some years might be bad here and there, but if they keep growing and they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to be just fine. That's what Trump is worried about. He's worried about what's going to happen in 20 years. Because the rate that we're going, we need to do this. The system we got right now is fake. We have a fake jobs market. The economy is built off of government spending. We're broke. I mean, guys, that's what, 36 trillion? We have $2 trillion in deficit? Yeah, we have a big problem here. So we have to have drastic change right now, because if we don't, we're going to go off a freaking cliff. And let's be honest, what's worse? Going off that theoretical cliff where, oh yeah, the economy that's been built off of bullshit for decades, it finally caves in, or do you suffer some possible short-term pain, but in return of long-term growth? And I do believe that his policies right now, they're working. Look at the jobs report. The jobs report was way stronger than anyone thought. And it wasn't just, they added new jobs. No, people are re-entering the workforce. So the jobs market was excellent. They fired like 4,000 federal workers, which should be more, but it's a good start. And they added real jobs. Not some crappy temporary job that's going to last 5 minutes. No, they're creating real jobs that are high-paying, good, stable jobs that Americans are getting. That's the end goal of Trump. He is worried about what's going to happen in 20 years, because right now, if we focus on what's going to happen in the stock market for one day, we're going to lose. That's why China, for decades, have owned us. They don't think about 1 quarter. They don't think in days. They think in decades. They think what's going to happen in 20 years. Everything they do is thought ahead. They think about the future. And that's been the problem for years. Most presidents in the last 50 years, they don't care about what happens in 20 years. They don't. They care about short-term growth now because they're still the president. They have to win re-election. They want to stay popular. But Trump, he doesn't have to worry about re-election. And quite frankly, I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares what people think. Like right now, Rasmussen right now has Trump's popularity for the first time negative, which is not a surprise. Again, some of this stuff is very unexpected. People were not expecting tariffs this high. Yeah, people expected them, but not at 40%. But at the same time, Trump is doing this for the country. He's doing this to save the economy in 20 years. Because if we don't change course now, we are screwed. We have nothing going for us. We make nothing here. And we've relied solely on China for most of our economy. So what happens if China says, you know what? We're done trading with you. You know, there's a war going on now. We're not going to give you anything. What's going to happen? Our entire economy, which was built off of bullshit, would collapse. It would cave in on itself. If China just says one day, no, we're not interested. No, we're going to give you nothing. We've run the world now. That's what China's trying to do. And Trump is saying, no, we are focused on building a real economy that works for Americans. For the first time since the 50s, this economy has been awful for decades. Not just 1 year, not just 2, but for decades. And this administration knows it. So yes, the prices for stuff like iPhones or whatever, it may go up. I'm not denying that. Guys, when you have tariffs, yeah, most of the time prices do go up, not by 80% like some people claim, but prices will go up for certain things. But at the same time, Trump is clearly focused on bringing good jobs back to America. That's step 1. Step 2, get housing under control. It's a mess right now. You can't afford shit. You can't buy a house right now. It's so expensive that only the top like 5% of Americans right now, they can really afford a house at this point. It is that bad. And you also have to worry about stuff like food. I mean, guys, the cost of food skyrocketed under Biden. And if you can't afford food, your country is screwed. On top of that, afford stuff like transportation. Like buy a new car. People can't afford anything now. That's what they're focused on. The stuff that matters. People care about housing, food, transportation. That's the big 3 things Trump is focused on. Yes, iPhones and cheap crap from China, that might be more expensive. But we're bringing jobs back to America. We're producing stuff again, so it's higher quality. And we are going to make housing affordable, which I would argue is another reason Trump is trying to bring down the stock market on purpose, which I know sounds crazy, but guess what? If the stock market goes down, at some point the Fed has to realize, oh wait, we have to cut interest rates. We have to cut interest rates, and that's going to bring down housing costs. That's the main focus of Trump in his first couple of years, all right? He's in office for 4 years. I'm not saying we're going to have an economic golden age in a year or so, but he's focused on trying to bring the cost of housing, food, transportation, bring that stuff down, which will help Americans way more than bring the cost down of like an iPhone. Because, okay, you buy an iPhone, who cares? You can't buy a house, so who cares? That's what Trump is trying to do, and I think it'll work. Now, is it a guarantee? Of course not. I still think at the end of the day, we don't know how this is going to go for a couple of months, maybe a couple of years. Like, who knows? Maybe tomorrow this whole thing ends. Already you have countries like Vietnam already bending the knee. They're saying, yeah, Trump, you're 100% right. We have been screwing you over for years. You know what? We're going to drop our tariffs to 0%. We're going to make a fair trade deal with America, which, by the way, that's why Trump has to do it now. We still have the leverage over countries like Vietnam, China. If we did it in 20 years, they may just say, no. Because at that point, they would have all the leverage. Right now, we still have the leverage over Vietnam. All right, countries like Vietnam, kind of China, like they're trying to put more tariffs on us. But at the end of the day, a lot of these countries, they have to bend the knee because their economies rely on America. They can't just run to the EU because they're not going to buy anything. We buy their crap. So they have to rely on us. And that's why I believe most of these countries will fold. Will all of them? Maybe not. But Trump right now, he's thinking the long term. He's not thinking about tomorrow. He's thinking about 10 years from now. I think we need this bad. Is it a guarantee everything goes perfectly? No. There is a chance that this blows up in our face and we have a great recession. I'm not denying that. But based on what I'm seeing right now, you got to take the risk. Because if you don't take the risk now, what's going to happen in 20 years? the entire system's gonna blow up, and you cannot reverse course at that point. This is our last chance to really reverse course permanently, not just for a couple of years, but forever. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.